It's a matter where I think there are concerns as to how the workload is going to be dealt with. And of course I was brought in because there was a backlog of work, and I suspect that backlog is going to build up again. One of the features, of course, of the judiciary here in Gibraltar is that we each have our specialities. So Mr. Justice Butler is the family judge, Mrs. Justice Ramaje Prescott does a lot of crime, the Chief Justice is a great all-rounder, but I was brought in as a specialist chancery and commercial practitioner, and that obviously means that when one gets to the heavy commercial cases, I'm able to deal with them more speedily than colleagues for whom it's not a specialist area. It's not to say that they're not able to deal with it, that they are perfectly well able to deal with it. It's just that it does take longer for a judge who's not a specialist to get to grips with the particular issues which they've got to deal with and then write up the judgment afterwards. So it's a matter where I think there is going to be an effect on the ability of Gibraltar to deliver quick and efficient judgments. It's particularly a pity because Gibraltar has a great advantage in that judgments which the Supreme Court give are automatically enforceable in the United Kingdom, so that there is no need to register the judgment or any of that sort. It's just the same as a Scottish judgment is enforceable in England or a Northern Irish judgment enforceable in England. Gibraltarian judgments are as good as English judgments for that purpose.
Is that a business opportunity?
Gibraltar can form a niche providing litigation services, and there are certainly areas in England where there is a crying need for somewhere like Gibraltar. That's because what's happened in the last couple of years is that the court fees in England have increased very dramatically, so that if you're bringing a claim for £100,000, you've got to pay a court fee just to start the action of £5,000. And when you consider that one of the major areas where you get that sort of litigation is insolvent companies where the liquidators want to investigate malpractice on the part of the directors, basically speaking, liquidators in England can't bring those sort of actions anymore, because unless they can find a creditor who's prepared to stump up £5,000 and then the subsequent court fees, there's just no means of financing that. Whereas Gibraltar would have the option of being able to offer that sort of service to liquidators, and then the cases would fight here with obviously advantages for the local bar. Gibraltar's already done a little bit of that in relation to admiralty cases. Gibraltar is the leading centre in the Western Mediterranean for arresting ships, and what typically happens is that a bank has lent money to a ship owner, and the ship's been mortgaged to the bank, and the bank wants to repossess the ship. What they do is they direct the master to steam into Gibraltar, and then the court arrests the ship, and then there's a procedure for sale of it. But Gibraltar's managed to undercut all the other admiralty courts around the Western Mediterranean, so we have a little niche industry there, and one could do exactly the same thing with liquidators in England who find they can't afford to bring proceedings in England.
I mean, in short, then there's a business case for having a strong and capable justice system which can deal with a workload which you fear they won't be able to in the coming months with only 3 judges.
That's absolutely right. It's advantageous to have plenty of litigation work for the local bar, and it's advantageous for the Gibraltarians as well, because it improves access to justice if they've got 4 judges in the Supreme Court rather than 3 judges.